top 10 scariest moments in JoJo. I've always made a Halloween special, and I'm not giving up anytime soon. All right, buddy. And remember, this is my list. Yours probably looks a lot different, but again, this is me. For 10, the King Crimson and Diavolo introduction is a great scene and could be higher because of its gravity, like the weight of the scene. Because after Popo, this is what we're working towards. We are in the middle of Golden Wind and we're working so hard to reach this point. So you understand why Bruno is just so riled up, because he's been directed to do the wrong thing like the entire time. And once he tries to fight it, it's just so unbelievable. Now this scene could be viewed as even like thematic, because he ends up thinking he's seeing himself, but dog, you have to realize he had saw himself. He really did, the past version of himself. And before we even realize what truly happened, boom, right through the chest. And Diavolo is just having this like somber tone the entire time. He's completely terrifying. But thank goodness Bruno's resolve really helped him continue. But good God, like, if that ended there, I wouldn't even be surprised, because it felt like this was going to be the death of Bruno. Number 9, we got Tamaki Dammo versus the Higashikata household. Now, Tamaki is an excellent example of how specific abilities can work too well depending on the scenario. This power is on par with like these eldritch horrors, because combining a home invasion with an ability that makes you lose all possible control you can have of your body is one of the most terrifying powers that we've seen. Arakia did an amazing job introducing this character as a somewhat goof, and then shifting him slowly into this sadistic and cruel antagonist. And then you have Joshu like going down the drain. I'm like, dude, that made me queasy, like low key, because there was no easy way of combating what was happening to him. He had like no control whatsoever. And alongside that, the way that he had been interrogating Norisuke made me worry a lot for the character, considering he can barely defend himself as is with his own stand ability. This arc also continuously escalates to the point where, honestly, you'd be a damn liar if you said that Dammo wasn't in your top minor antagonist. But what more can I say? Number 8, the alley hands. I think the next one works the way that it does because of the sheer unexpectedness of it all. We're told that Rohan and Koichi, like, all they have to do is just not turn around. But honestly speaking, I thought it would have just been some sort of little enemy stand user that's going to be the issue here. But when we find out that it's just a bunch of large hands, I was so thrown off. I've never been thrown off up until that point. And I don't think we've ever had such an anomaly that we can't explain like that. I didn't know that Bongo from Zelda was in JoJo. Like, that was just crazy. I'm like, what the heck, what's going on here? But Rohan followed the rules and saved Koichi. But when it comes down to it, these things ignore durability better than most characters that we've seen. So it's very possible that the alley hands would beat a majority of the stand users that we know, as they don't abide by the normal laws of power that we understand too, which is just completely wild and very polarizing. Number 7, next up, we have Bites the Dust versus the Moria Warriors. Now, as a viewer, we're already somewhat on edge because of the death of Rohan. Kishibe carried over. So at this point, it was about seeing how much Bites the Dust was going to get to be so capable and how far it could truly get. I was extremely happy to see Hayato come into contact with the group, but you could feel the dread in that scene, because how are you supposed to get help without revealing the identity of the person doing this all? And what's so wild is that Hayato felt so helpless that the only way to get out of this and save everyone was to just end his own life. But it's all misdirection, because Bites the Dust would never allow that. And while trying to save everyone from himself, Hayato accidentally contributes in being the one to show them all the power of Killer Queen's third bomb. Amazing scene, amazing moment. Number 6, the Vanilla Ice introduction. The reveal of Vanilla Ice and his stand Cream was also one for the books, because seeing a minion of Dio that's so dedicated that he's willing to decapitate himself is one thing, but how he exited the room was another. I honestly, originally speaking, I did think it was funny. I still do, because Dio's all like, dude, You could have just used the door, but it was the next part that got to me. We've never seen Avdol use this life detector ability before, but considering they just found Kenny G, who was hidden very well, it makes you think, oh, well, okay, this probably can't get that bad. But Araki is just so amazing at like subtlety, because Avdol is the only person to find this writing, which leads him in being the only one who notices this enormous stand behind him. And the fact that Avdol was just the one put into one of the worst possible situations you could ever be in JoJo, it was just so tense, it was unbelievable. And he saved his boys, but oh my god, he got straight up brutalized, worse than the majority of the teams that we've seen. If I could add more to this, I would, because Vanilla Ice in his entirety is a terrifying character. But that's it for now. Number 5, we got Johnny Joestar versus Civil War. The battle between Johnny Joestar and the Stand Civil War is one of the most eerie and psychological battles that we have in the series. Now, Civil War used by Axl Rowe isn't just about, physical prowess, like at all, but it digs deep into the psyche of its opponents. The ability to materialize guilt into these apparitions, like these ghosts, that forces its victims to confront their past sins and the weight of their regrets. So Johnny's struggle becomes just so personal as you see the literal ghost of his past haunt him, and then some more ghosts. But not only does it tear him up like mentally, it goes on to do the same thing physically. It's a type of body horror that's reminiscent of Chocolata and again the Alley Hands, and it added so much more weight to the entire fight. So I'm very thankful to have existed in a time where Steel Ball Run exists, to say the least. At number 4, Pooi Winning. This situation has easily been one of the most fear-instilling moments in all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because Poochie's complete massacre of the Stone Ocean cast is one of the most polarizing things to happen to an entire cast of characters. Made in Heaven in its design isn't a scary one like at all, but the fact that it's Pooi of all characters is what's truly scary, because he's finally got to the point that he wanted to. Everything that he was leading up to this, he did it, But originally speaking, when I was first reading this, I thought this was going to play out like Ultimate Cars did. Or maybe, like the other antagonists like Awakened Dio or Bites the Dust Kira. But this was completely different. He cut through everyone, and there was like no defense whatsoever against him. You know what was also incredibly terrifying too? When we saw Pooi moving in stopped time with just Sea Moon alone, then you get on into Made in Heaven, and stopping time is damn near pointless because Pooi has covered all ends. He knows how to get around this ability. He's been known how to do this. He slashed, he sliced, and he turned all of the characters that I've grown to love into sashimi, dude. I just never expected that was really going to happen, because like a few characters, sure, like JoJo kills characters, of course it does. It has like some of the most stakes in manga, so a few characters, of course. Pooi already killed Foo Fighters and Weather Report, but I didn't think that he was going to complete the roster, dude. That's never happened before. And Jotaro screamed in terror for the first time ever. I've heard him yell before, but it was with anger. Seeing everyone and everything crumble before our eyes is just completely shocking. And obviously, this isn't the goriest thing that's happened in JoJo, but being fully honest, what's truly scary can surpass things like gore and all that. Trust me, I've seen over 1,000-something movies. I've logged that into Letterboxd. Just trust me, like gore is not it's not the main thing about scariness. And for number 3, we have Rat and the Fridge. Because the confrontation with the Stand rats and, bug eating and all that, whatever, the rats, its horrific ability is what takes the spot on my list, this 3rd spot. Because this moment stands out as one of the most like monstrous or just unsettling things that's ever happened. Because when Jotaro and Josuke coming through to face this rat, they're greeted with the sight of a man and his wife melted and reshaped, stuck inside of a fridge. The image of his disfigured body and like they're just these futile pleas just for help and trying to oh my god, it's like some berserk stuff. It's creating this hard to shake off scene. And the idea that your body could be transformed into this unrecognizable state of goo while you're still alive and conscious. That reminds me a lot of those Cronenberg type of movies, which I have also watched because I watch movies, you know, that's me. So nowadays, when I see a rat of sorts, you know, I try not to remember that scene as, you know, as an intrusive thought. And for number 2, this is the last of our part 4 mentions on the list, Kira's invasion and attack. Because Kira has a bad encounter with a couple on the train, and his intent is at an all-time high. Because he's been playing it safe for so long now, and as soon as I see the couple again, I knew right then and there. I was like, okay, it is JoJo's for these two. Like, Kira catches the door, forces his way into their home, and as soon as the man even tries to say anything to Kira, horrifying. Raw, but horrifying. His torment of the woman also is just another gruesome spectacle, because you see how sadistic Kira is in his enjoyment with all this heinousness. Like, it's terrible. He goes as far to pin the man's severed ears, still attached to his earrings, onto her before leaving nothing of her but a severed hand. I also want to add in the fact that Hayato recorded everything, and I swear I thought he was dying in this episode. I was like, this is over for that kid. That kid's done for. But yeah, great moment. I'm happy that we wrapped up this character. And let's get on into the honorable mentions. Now, here are some honorable mentions that I can debatably have in this video. There's Santana jumping into a face. I always thought that was wild. Cheap Trick's body horror, disturbing for sure. Angelo showing how adamant he is on people not picking up their dog's boo-boo. I feel like a simple no would have sufficed, you know. And lastly, Blue Hawaii? I think so. Which is Araki's version of Train to Busan. Which is a lie, but, you know, whatever. And lastly, we're spinning it all the way back to Phantom Blood. Dio, now a vampire, has a mother and her baby in his castle. The mother, desperate to save her child, begs Dio to take her life, but spare the baby. In a cruel twist of fate, Dio turns her into this vampiric zombie, and she's lost all sense of mind, all sense of control, and she ends up devouring her own child. I know it's a bit dumb to say that this is where I realized there's no coming back with Dio, but I truly believe that this was the final nail in the coffin. Like, there was a couple nails, to be fair, but this character was completely gone by now. There is not a single shred of humanity left in him in this current moment. I could have attributed a bunch of stuff to just him being like angsty and all that type of stuff, but no. It was all gone there. We also don't have things comparable to this moment for the most part, especially considering that Araki had actually drawn this out in the manga and it looks as crazy as you can imagine. But yeah, that's definitely my pick for the number 1 spot. But please, you know, if you have an idea of your own top 10, please feel free to leave it in the comments. Halloween is one of my favorite holidays ever, alongside horror being one of, or if not my favorite genre that there is. Please, I would love to see your own list. I'd love to spin back on this if it performs well enough, you know, maybe next year and all that. But again, you know, thank you all for watching. Your continuous support over the years, it means so much to me. You don't understand. Hopefully I'll see you on the next one though. Until then, peace out and Godspeed.